What are the triathlon action from the Sunshine Coast Triathlon, proudly brought to you by Old Mutual, Coastal Hire, Wild Coast FM, Eventpro, Powerade, Brobart Security and Castle Light. It's a warm welcome to the Old Mutual Sunshine Coast Triathlon. We are in Buffalo City, East London, the heart of the Sunshine Coast, for the start of this triathlon that is one of the longest running triathlons in the Eastern Cape. It's an event that draws a variety of participants from around the border area. A lot of schools taking part in this event as well. Multitude of events happening on the day, including a sprint and Olympic distance event, and a mini triathlon as well for the younger athletes happening on the same day. Although the weather looked pretty sunny, the sea was going to be a pretty rough swim. So we headed out and wanted to know from some of the athletes exactly what they expected of the Sunshine Coast Triathlon for the 2015 edition.
I'm just going out there to go and have some fun today.
Wonderful. I expect to be in the middle somewhere, hopefully.
Yeah?
I've done nothing in 2 weeks since half iron.
Yeah?
Just besides eat too much food and drink too much beer.
I think I'm confident for the race, and we'll see. It's good weather,
Beautiful.
and so that's the main, to have fun.
It's going to be interesting. 2 weeks after Ironman's quite close, but looking forward to it. We're going to have a good ride.
Wonderful.
Hopefully the ride goes better.
A lot of athletes spending time preparing the transition area. We wanted to know what this was all about.
No, you don't have to think too much when you come into transition. It's a bit hectic. Your blood's pumping in your head, and you don't want to think too much. You want to have everything organised. So we're coming in. We're taking that. We're taking this. We're putting our socks in. We're putting our race belt on. We're going to grab a banana, move this out the way. We're going to rip our bike off the rack. And we're going to go straight out and clap it again when we come back. Take this off as fast as we can, put our shoes on and off we go. So,
And what if you grab the wrong colour tackies?
then someone else is having a bad race.
This year the Sunshine Coast Triathlon was also an SA qualifying event for the SA para triathletes who will be taking part in the SA Triathlon Champs the following weekend.
Look, I think the wind is going to pick up later on. It's going to be a nice sunny day. I think it's going to be choppy outside. Maybe the wind will hit you on the flat section, but I think it's going to be a good day.
This year there was also a Coastal Hire team event which saw quite a few teams entering.
No, I've got a good plan. I see I'm going to be running into the wind going there, but at least the wind can help me run back. It's a bit of an uphill, but ready to rock and roll this.
Cycling, 20 kilometers, it should be okay. I'm a little bit nervous, but we'll see how it goes, Doing it for Team MFP.
Organisers trying to ensure that everybody briefed pretty well before the event. The conditions in the ocean were picking up and it's going to be a really, really tough swim. Orient Beach dishing out some real choppy conditions for the athletes this year. Probably the worst sea conditions we've seen at the Sunshine Coast Triathlon in the last 6-7 years of it taking place here at the Orient Beach. The mini event triathlon got on the way first, then it was the chance for the Olympic athletes to get in the water and show what they were made of. Olympic event consisted of a 1,500 meter swim, 40 kilometer cycle and then a 10 kilometer run. You can see by the GoPro camera in the water some real choppy conditions out there. If you swam out in the open ocean before, especially in a competitive nature, you'll know that it takes quite a bit of getting used to. You've got to get the timing just right, go through the swells, breathing very important as well, and these real choppy conditions not helping at all. The athletes would do 2 loops of a 750 meter course. They'd come out of the water after the first loop for a short runoff onto the beach, and then they would turn and head back into the water. Clinton Grammett, the man who's out of the water first, one of the first athletes to come out, he heads back in. This is where they make the turn at the Eventpro buoy, and from there on the athletes do another 750 meter loop. Cindy Schultz in the shot there. She's won the ladies event in the Olympic distance for the last 5 years. Very strong athletes. Of course, she's a South African duathlon champion as well, and she'll be taking part in the SA Triathlon Champs. Will be taking place at this very same venue in the next few weeks. I want to say a big thank you to our sponsors who's made this event possible as well. Without them, it just wouldn't be able to happen. Big thanks to Old Mutual, our key sponsor for the event. The heavy swell conditions on the day pushing some of the athletes a little bit off course, having to change the line of sight as they were approaching the beach area. You can see it was really, really choppy out there. This is probably the worst sea conditions we've seen at the Orient in a long time. Harbour Wall usually provides quite a bit of protection. Sunshine Coast Triathlon's been very lucky the last couple of years in having some of the best surf conditions in the country. Of course, the SA Champs coming up the weekend after this event. So it's going to be interesting to see what that one dishes out. We're in the transition area. Clinton Grammett managing to get out first. He wants to be a strong contender in this event. Of course, getting into transition and getting out, one of the key objectives of athletes. The smoother your transition, the quicker you can get in and out. Let's get out on the road bike as we pick up some of the action. Back at the Orient Beach, it was time for the sprint event and the Coastal Hire Team Challenge to get going. This would make up the biggest field of athletes for the entire event. As they get going, it will be a 750 meter swim for them, 20 kilometer cycle and an 8 kilometer run that lay ahead. But trust me, these athletes take this challenge really, really seriously. Surf conditions not letting down at all, and it looks like it was actually getting a little bit worse for the sprint athletes and the Coastal Hire Team Challenge athletes as they make their way to that turning buoy. 750 meters in total. They only do one loop of the course, with the Olympic athletes did 2 loops. Jonas Schomburg being the first out of the water for the sprint event. And of course, he's using this as a firm training ground. Next weekend for him, he'll be taking part in the elite group of athletes that will be doing the SA Triathlon Champs right here at the Orient Beach. He'll be taking part in the colours of Turkey for that event. So this is just a warm-up for him, using it to loosen up the muscles and just to ensure that the focus is there for the big one coming up the following weekend. Would appear that the swim would be the most difficult part of the Sunshine Coast Triathlon this year. Steep little run up next to the Orient Theatre to get into transition. From here they head out onto the bike. Now at this stage the Olympic event athletes already on their second loop in the Olympic event. They're doing a 40 kilometer cycle. It would be 10 kilometer loops that they would be cycling. So that means the sprint distance athletes would do 2 10 kilometer loops. Head out on the Northeast Expressway. It's a closed off-road event. Leading athletes in the Olympic event now coming through for their second loop. They've got to do 4 loops of this 10 kilometer course. You can see looking out towards Bats Cave in the distance there just how choppy the ocean really was on the day. The last group of athletes that would get going on the day would be the para triathletes. Now, these guys start a little bit differently. It would be a wet start for them. That means the athletes actually go into the water and start once everybody's in the water. Then they swim out on their distances. They also do a 750 meter swim. Some of the athletes are visually disabled and they swim with a partner, but all the same, the conditions being the same for everybody out there. really, really choppy, as a lot of the sprint event athletes making their way back into transition. Now to get changed and to get out on the run, of course, there would be a 5-kilometer run lying ahead for the sprint athletes and a 10-kilometer run for the Olympic distance athletes. A beautiful run along the Esplanade in East London. With the ocean on the right-hand side as you go past the Esplanade. Probably one of the most scenic runs in the Eastern Cape as far as a sporting event is concerned. I think that's why many of the triathlete events head towards Buffalo City every year to host their event at this venue. Back at the beachfront, some of the para-triathletes are making their way to the beach. They've got handlers that come along to help the athletes. Of course, the athletes compete in various categories according to their disability level. They would compete in a certain category level. You can see those two athletes, they're joined together by a cord, and would actually have an assistant that would swim the entire distance with them if they're visually impaired. Out towards a run to the transition area now. See, putting his hand on the right-hand side of his helper just to get to the top of this run. This is the athletes from Central Gauteng coming through. Of course, all of these athletes competed in the SA Triathlon Champs last year. Dylan De Silva, champion in his group of, or in his category that he competes in. I think he competes in PT3 if I'm not mistaken. Of course, next weekend will be the SA Triathlon Champs taking place at this venue. These athletes competing or qualifying for the SA Triathlon Champs, which, by the way, this year is an internationally ITU sanctioned event. So some more top-class triathlon action heading to East London within the next 7 days. Quite a few of the border area's top athletes using the Sunshine Coast Triathlon as a gauge to see exactly where they are fitness level wise for the event. See the para-triathletes not taking any prisoners out there as far as the cycle ride is concerned. This is the turning point for the sprint event. Athletes really having a great day out on the bike. Dylan De Silva coming through for a turn as well. They turned at the sprint event. Athletes sticking well to the inside line there. That's good thinking, allowing the para-triathlete to go by on the outside. Leaders in the sprint and Olympic distance coming in at the same time. Schomburg, the leader in the sprint event, coming through first, then followed by Gravett, leader for the Olympic distance. Now out on the run, Olympic will only do 10-kilometer, will do a 10-kilometer run rather, while the sprint event athletes will do a 5-kilometer run. Gravett gets out first. Schomburg's going to be in there right behind him. Many of the athletes just enjoying the running conditions on the day and making the most of the sun.
We can still win this thing. We've a couple of minutes spare, and just now you're going to see us make a break.
I'll be waiting.
Watch for us at the finish line.
Okay.
Well, at least Dennis Collins was in good spirit as the rest of the athletes head past the Getaway Hotel. This is the beautiful part of the run we told you about. And it's a beautiful stretch of road. Let's pick up on some of the action on the road running event. Schomburg coming through to claim victory in the sprint distance event. And we actually found out that the event that he'll be competing in next week would be a sprint distance event as well. I think that's why he opted to do the sprint event instead of the Olympic event. Big competition on the day in the para triathlete event as well, which was a qualifier for next weekend's ITU international event happening here. Dylan De Silva taking the honours in the PT3 category.
Well, it was pretty tough. It was quite windy going out. Coming back was nice and fast. But yeah, going out was pretty hard, and coming back, you got that last bit of climb. Man, it was a killer.
Many of our para triathletes looking forward to next weekend's international event. It's going to be a real nice one to compete in. Stan Swanepoel coming through to finish as well. Out of breath, but a great effort. Cindy Schultz taking the win for the ladies in the Olympic distance event. Some great effort by her.
It was good. She was a little bit choppy. And then, yeah, the bike was a bit windy going out, but coming back, we had the tailwind behind us, so it was very nice. And then the run was good as well. It was getting hot, but overall it was a very, very good race. Enjoyed it.
It's first time back in 2 years racing, I'm just taking it easy. It was a tough course today. The bike, I'm not the strongest on the bicycle, and I took a nice little trot on the run now. So the swim is my stronger point, but it's good to be back after 2 years.
Awesome day. We entered on Wednesday, no pressure. My good friend Michelle, no depression. We entered, swallowed half the sea, but managed to survive, no drownings. And then the cycle was awesome, windy, and the run was all downhill, they say. We survived. Awesome event. Thanks to all the organisers.
Well, it wasn't just all about the adults on the day. The kids having a little bit of fun of their own in the Coca-Cola Kids Triathlon. Getting the kids into the mood for some triathlon action. That's what it's all about. Inspiring the youngsters to get out on the bike. A quick little run through the surf, then a cycle along the short pier. Then back towards a small transition area. And a little run along the beach, and then it was on to the finish line. Of course, each of these kids getting a medal to say thank you for competing. A lot of the youngsters taking the run rather seriously. Not holding back at all, these youngsters were. That's what it's all about, getting the youth inspired to take part in the triathlon. Well, that kind of concludes all of the action from this year's Old Mutual Sunshine Coast Triathlon. If you want more information on the event, go to www.sunshinecoasttriathlon.co.za. All of the action from the Old Mutual Sunshine Coast Triathlon proudly brought to you by Old Mutual, Coastal Hire, Wild Coast FM, Investpro, Powerade, Probard Security, and Castle Light.